everyone, my name is Lacey and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, hello. I am glad that you have stopped by. Almost every Tuesday, I do 3 weeks on, 1 week off, but I upload a true crime video that is related to usually Christianity in some way, shape, or form, and it's called Church Crime Time Tuesdays. Once again, I'm glad you are here. So today I am covering a case that is very, very recent, and it is frustrating beyond belief. I don't think anybody watching this video will walk away less than frustrated. Like, there's no way. So I want to give a little bit of background about me before jumping into this case. So I was born and raised in Texas. I literally lived there till I moved away at like 21, 22, something like that. So I know Texas very well. I grew up in West Texas specifically, and like we said in the last video, Texas puts a lot of importance when it comes to sports, especially like high school and college sports, specifically football. Sports in general are very important in Texas. Definitely football is the main one, but sports in general. Now, like you found out in the last case, the university that I went to was Angelo State University. When I went to this university, I was studying to become a teacher, a elementary school teacher to be exact. My area of study at the time was early childhood education, specifically K through 6. And I was also studying special education, K through 12. When I was going to this school, I met a ton of other students who were around my age who were also studying for the exact same thing, because one year I went to a study abroad trip. This study abroad trip, we went to New Zealand and Australia, and it was specifically for people who were, early childhood or studying to be an educator of some sort. So because of this, I got very close to a lot of people within the field of early childhood education, specifically in this area of Texas. So of course, before we get into the case, I'm going to start with a trigger warning. Today, we are going to be talking about SA, specifically child SA. So if that is too triggering for you, please, once again, skip this video. I will see you next week. So today's case happens at a school in Midland, Texas. It happened at a school called Midland Christian School. So it happened at a school called Midland Christian School. This is a private Christian school where kids actually pay $13,000 a year in tuition. What? $13,000 a year in tuition for a high school and like middle school. What? I didn't go to private school. I have no idea the cost of private school or anything, but the only thing I can compare it to is my college tuition that I paid for. Like at a university that is ranked pretty good in Texas. I spent 4.5 years there, and when I walked away, my student loan debt was like 35-ish. For 4.5 years. And just to go to high school at Midland Christian School for 4 years, we'd walk away paying $49,000 in total for, I don't know, that just seems a little high to me. Just saying. Anyways, before we get into what happened at this school, I want to read you the school's mission statement and purpose statement. This is found on their website, but this is what it said, quote, "Our mission of Midland Christian School is to assist parents in leading students to love God and to seek truth by training them in a Christ-centered environment that emphasizes moral and academic excellence and inspires them to develop their God-given talents for lives of Christian leadership and service." Their purpose statement reads, quote, "We are motivated in all facets by our faith in Jesus Christ, attempting to serve as a reflection of God's unconditional love for all people. We seek to honor the Lord in all that we do by operating Midland Christian School in a manner consistent with biblical principles. It is important to us that every word and deed engaged in by Midland Christian School, its employees, representatives, volunteers, and students be consistent with and in furtherance of Midland Christian School's religious purposes, both publicly and privately. We are committed to putting our faith into action every day as we use our lives to make a tangible difference for children." Now, I know I read those statements with a bunch of sass, and you're going to understand why as we dig into this case. But I will start out by saying I understand this is probably not all the staff at this school. I am going to preface this case with that because I personally know a teacher at this school. Personally. And she is a wonderful woman. I absolutely adore her. She is one of the kindest, sweetest, generous people I have probably ever met in my life. So I know that there are staff members at this school that are just as brokenhearted about this case. And I know there are going to be people in the comments, it's not all Christians. I get that. We all get that. But this kind of behavior that is perpetrated in Christian environments is massively a problem. It happens time and time and time again. We have seen it over and over and over again, and it needs to be talked about. It needs to be brought into light, and it needs to change. So the case, brace yourself. So on January 20th of 2022, yes, literally a month and a half ago, a 9th grader at Midland Christian School went to the principal of the high school and told her about an incident that happened to him. He said that he was at baseball practice, and after baseball practice, he went into the locker room. The locker room was pitch black, and when he walked in, he was grabbed by a student and pushed to the ground. This student was a 10th grader, and he had a baseball bat, and he started hitting the 9th grader with it and telling him this was freshman initiation. The boy tried to fight back, but the sophomore told him, you can't fight back, you can't hit back, this is initiation. The 10th grader then took the 9th grader, flipped him over on his stomach to where he was like on the ground on his stomach, pinned the boy's arms underneath his knees, and then used the end of the baseball bat to assault him in a sexual manner. I'm not going to get into it, but you all know what happened. Now, while this assault is taking place, there are other students in the locker room. Do they come to his aid? Do they try to protect him? Do they try to pull the sophomore off of him? No. What these students do is cheer the 10th grader on and are laughing and screaming and hollering while he physically assaults and SAs this poor 9th grade boy. Now, he tells his principal about this incident. Naturally, the principal, being a mandatory reporter, if you're not in Texas, I don't know if this is in every state, I'm pretty sure it is, but in Texas, staff members of all schools, whether private, public, or whatever, you are considered a mandatory reporter. What that means is if a case of abuse comes to your knowledge, you are mandated by law to alert authorities. So, did she? Did this principal alert authorities? No. No, she did not. This principal did not alert authorities. She didn't even alert anybody about this situation for a full 24 hours. 24 fucking hours. This principal sat there with this information. Now, mind you, in assault cases like this, it is crucial to collect evidence as soon as possible and to have a medical forensic workup done of the victim. She didn't do none of that. She didn't alert nobody. The first person she decides to alert 24 hours later was the superintendent. She fills him in on the incident, and the superintendent decides, okay, we're going to do an investigation. So he tells the vice principal and the athletic director to investigate the incident. Mind you, not one of these adults in this situation has yet to call the authorities. Mind you, every single one of them are mandatory reporters. They are all breaking the law. The authorities finally got notified after 7 days. And do you think it was any of those people who called the authorities? No, it was not. The authorities were called. The police were called and informed about this incident at the school by an anonymous person. They still have not told or do not know who called to inform them, but it was definitely not any of these adults at the school. What? So the police come out to the school to investigate this incident. They talk with the principal and the superintendent, and they both confirmed that, yeah, we knew about this incident and we were investigating it. Why didn't you call authorities? This was a week ago. What? So the police asked them, okay, we would need all of that paperwork, any kind of documentation, interviews, anything you did during this investigation over the last 7 days, we would need those documents. Now, they couldn't give them over. And he said, you have until February 14th to hand over those documents to authorities. Now, at the same time, the police end up interviewing the victim and his family. They end up interviewing the perpetrator, this 10th grader. They end up actually making an arrest in connection with this assault. Now, remember, they have until February 14th to turn over these documents of this investigation to the authorities. On February 14th, the superintendent calls the police and is like, I'm sorry, we are not going to be turning over any documentation of this investigation. Completely stonewalling the police. Instantly, the police were like, yeah, the fuck you are. So they file for a warrant and they get it issued that day. So the police go down to the school and start searching computers, getting documents, all of the things. And they find out they have two documents pertaining to this assault investigation that they did. But these documents were not created until February 11th and February 12th. Literally 2 to 3 days prior to when these documents were supposed to be handed into authorities, but well after the incident and when the police had told them that they needed to get us these documents, but the school had said, we are doing an investigation. No, you were not. There were not even documents made until February 11th. Not only that, but the police retrieved some emails between multiple members within this school staff talking about this incident, making it very well known that they were very well aware of what was going on. Now, these emails were between 5 different staff members and one other anonymous person. This anonymous person was in the emails saying, you need to alert authorities about this assault, and if you don't, I will be going to authorities myself. There is a theory that this is the person who called the police and let them know about the incident that had happened. Now, police started to interview the superintendent, the principal, and those involved. And the superintendent and the principal both told police that they had done interviews with students that were involved or could have been eyewitnesses to this assault taking place. When did these interviews take place with these students? 3 weeks after the incident. 3 weeks. They are trying to cover their asses. They weren't doing some freaking investigation when this assault occurred. The police came out a week after this assault occurred. They're like, we are doing an investigation. You don't have any documents and you didn't conduct interviews with students for 3 weeks. Now, these interviews with these students, the students were like, we don't know anything. Now, either A, they forgot, which how do you forget something that big? Or B, you gave them 3 damn weeks to get their story straight or to be intimidated by the perpetrator, threatening them that if they spoke up, they would have something very similar happen to them. You fucked up big time. Now, of course, all of this evidence within these emails is showing that 5 staff members at the school knew about the assault and were keeping it from law enforcement. So just 2 days after the police were issued the search warrant and collected their evidence, they show up to Midland Christian School and make 5 arrests. They end up arresting Superintendent Jared Lee, Principal Deanne Ellis, Vice Principal Matthew Counts, Athletic Director Gregory McClendon, and baseball coach Barry Russell. They were all charged with failure to report and intent to conceal. Now, when these arrests were made, it made headlines and spread like wildfire. And shockingly enough, it didn't take long for former parents and students of Midland Christian School to start speaking up. There was a former student and athlete that came forward named Mason Riggs, and he made a public statement stating, quote, I went to Midland Christian High School from 2013 to 2015. I played football under Coach Mack, and the story is no surprise to me and many others. Admin and coaches tolerated and covered up a highly sexualized and emotionally abusive culture. If you were a valuable athlete, you were a god. You got paid, you lacked for nothing, and you got away with everything. 0 real consequences. Theft, RAPE, SA, drugs, alcohol were all part of being in MCS sports. Just put my name in the pile of alums that have now spoken out. The fact that this statement did not take long to surface and for other people to start making statements just shows that these allegations, this atmosphere that MCS has created, that people are calling out is most likely true. And it doesn't shock me because, like I said, I lived in Texas. I understand how important sports are to Texas schools. I understand the lengths that they will go to protect their image or their school's image when it comes to sports. So the fact that they tried to cover this up and keep it hush hush and they didn't alert authorities didn't shock me one bit. Not just because they are a Christian school that's trying to like damage control and save face, because been there, done that. Ravi Zacharias, just a case in point, is one of a million times that Christian groups, organizations, churches, schools, whatever, name it, has tried to cover up abuse to save face. So you mix Texas schools wanting to protect their, sports department and trying to save face and protect their Christian name and Christian school. This sadly does not shock me. Now, the school, Midland Christian School, at 3 p.m. that day decides to come out with their own statement. And in this statement, they said that these 5 staff members, yes, they confirmed that they had been arrested, that they were aware of and they call it, quote, alleged hazing incident, completely refraining to call it an SA, and go on to say that some students that were involved in this alleged hazing incident have gotten school disciplinary action, and that the school staff members have and will continue to cooperate with police and this investigation. Excuse me, your school stonewalled the police. How in the hell is that cooperating with the investigation? You refused to do an investigation. You lied about doing an investigation, and you refused to give documents over to the police when they demanded it, and they had to get a search warrant. I'm sorry. If police had to go get a search warrant, that's not cooperating. Jesus Christ. Now they go on in this statement to say that they have qualifying staff members to take over these positions in this time, and that they end up thanking the parents and students that are praying for them during this difficult time, and then end it by saying, because of our legal counsel, this will be the one and only statement we make regarding this issue. Do you see what they left out of this statement? They left out the victim. They didn't say that they felt sorry for the victim, that they were very sorry this happened at their school, that nothing. There was not one mention of the victim at all. And they refused to call it an SA. They called it an alleged hazing incident. Being SA'd by a baseball bat in the backside is not a hazing incident. It is an assault. Now, the 5 staff members that were arrested that day ended up bonding out at 5 p.m. for $500. Their bond was set at $5,000, but I guess you only have to pay a percentage of the bond. I'm not 100% how that works. Never been arrested. I don't know anyone that's been arrested. But apparently they only had to pay $500 out of pocket to get out of jail. They are not back at the school until this is, taken care of or whatever, but still, yeah. Now, I want to talk about the victim for just a minute. I want you to try to put yourself in this victim's shoes, okay? If I'm understanding this case, if my research is correct, he went to staff at the school, he went to the principal the day this incident occurred, or very shortly after, and the police were not notified for 7 days. That is an entire week. An entire week that he had to go to school, seeing his perpetrator, seeing the students that sat there and cheered him on as he physically assaulted him and SA'd him. Can you imagine the fear that this child walked through every single day at this school? I don't know if the victim ended up telling his parents or if he told the principal. The principal didn't do anything, so he just kept quiet because he was like, I'm gonna cause waves. I'm not really sure exactly what happened or how it happened. I'm sure more of that will come out as time goes on. He is a minor, so names are not being, put out there, which is good. I completely agree with that. But yeah, that is all we know about this case. I hope between now and this case being resolved, I hope that more alumni speak out, and that just gives so much more credibility and support to the victim, because I cannot imagine what he is walking through right now. and his whole entire family. This has got to be devastating. So I will try to keep up to date with this case as much as possible, and I will do an update video. It'll probably be just like a really short one that I throw out on a random day. Cases take a while to resolve, so this might be a little ways in the future, but yeah. That is the case of Midland Christian School. Now, if you do not follow me on TikTok or Instagram, those are linked below. I highly suggest that you go and do that and follow me there, because as this case progresses and as I keep track of it, I will try to post updates there. If there's like a petition or anything that needs to get signed or places you can call or whatever, I will link those in my social media accounts and put out updates there. So that is the case of Midland Christian School. Hey everybody, this is Post Editing Lacey here. As I was editing the video, I actually came across another case very similar to this one, also shockingly enough in Midland as well. So after the staff at Midland Christian School were arrested, it gave a victim at another school in the area the courage to come forward and tell her story. So a victim at Trinity School of Midland, this is also another private Christian school that you pay a shit ton of money to attend. I will put the prices here on the screen so you can see what they pay. This is for just 1 year of schooling. Just for pre-K, this is a half day of pre-K. You are paying almost $10,000 for pre-K. Pre-K. Guys, this is insane. And it goes all the way up to $21,000, over $21,000 for 9th through 12th grade. This is insane. So the parents are paying a lot of money to attend this school. Well, this victim had been assaulted and harassed by another classmate for multiple months in 2019. After these incidences had happened, she went to the staff at Midland Trinity and told them about what was going on. The staff didn't do anything about it. They said that they had interviewed her and the perpetrator and that it was just a he said, she said, and they couldn't do anything about it. In December of 2019, the victim's parents became fully aware of the situation and what was going on. And so they scheduled some meetings with the staff at the school. The parents were very upset because the victim had to face the perpetrator at school every day, and he wasn't even being taken out of her classes, which was very disheartening. And they didn't feel like the situation was being taken serious by the staff. Now, it took weeks for them to even get a hold of the staff members and to get appointments to meet with them. And as we all know, COVID hit in March of 2020. After this, classes became remote, but for Midland, classes returned to normal in-person learning in spring of 2020, just a few months later. When the victim returned to school, she still was facing the perpetrator in classes. He was still in classes. She was still having to see him, and the school wasn't doing anything about it. Mind you, it has been months at this point, and the school has not told authorities what is going on. And once again, they are mandatory reporters. After this, the parents decided that they were going to unenroll their child from that school. On September 18th of 2020, the school sent the parents a, quote, confidential waiver and release of all claims. If the parents were to have signed this document, they would receive a refund, a partial refund of the tuition that they had paid for the 2020-2021 school year. Now, the parents ended up hiring an attorney and tried to fight the school for not taking action. But we all know that taking legal measures is complicated and can be very expensive. And eventually the parents gave up and they just didn't want to take away the rights from their daughter for telling her story. So I'm assuming that in these litigation process with these charges that the school was saying that if they, come to a deal or something along those lines, that the child could not tell her story publicly. I'm drawing a blank, but one of those things that you have to sign, it means you can't talk about the story after like the settlement is paid or something like that. So I'm assuming that is something that had gone down. Don't take my word for it, but that's what I'm gathering from my research. After this victim came forward and told the police about what had happened and how the staff did not take this serious or report it to authorities, the police went on February 22nd, just days after making arrests at Midland Christian School, and arrested 4 members of staff at Trinity School in Midland. The 4 staff members that were arrested were Shelby Hanna, the head of Trinity, Todd Freese, the dean of students,
Crystal Mayers, the head of middle school, and Adrian Clifton, which is the assistant head of administration. From what I have found, only one of them has posted bail at this point. They could have posted bail, it just hasn't made headlines yet, or I couldn't find it. But they face up to 2 years in state jail for attempting to conceal these incidences. So I'm assuming the charges are the exact same as the other staff members. So failure to report and attempt to conceal. This is once again disheartening. Another school in the same city, not only another school, but this is another Christian school that is not taking abuse seriously and concealing it, and failure to report these incidences to proper authorities.
I hope you guys have a great week. If you like this kind of content, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you do not miss any of the uploads. Once again, I post 3 and then I take a week off. I love you all. Take care of yourself. You guys know I'm all about the self-care. Drink water, eat some chocolate, take a bubble bath, go for a walk, whatever it is you do, take care of yourself. Have a great week, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.